3, 2, 1. Hey friends, Janky here, and welcome to another episode of Hanging with Janky. I've had a good week, friends. I went and I saw Pirates of the Caribbean 5, which was nice. It was a good movie. My pet project over the past week or so is almost complete. My Newt's Commander scarf. I just have to add tassels and fix the edges, which I haven't fixed yet. I have lots of extra yarn that I have to fix, but it looks good, doesn't it? I look like I'm about to go find fantastic beasts wherever they live. That's the goal. The ultimate goal. So that's what I've been up to, but let's go ahead and move on into channel talk, sub thanks, and gaming news, shall we? Why did I pause there? I don't know. So let's start off by talking about a couple videos that got up this past week that I would really love it if you guys could check out, starting with my Red Nose Day special, because as you guys may know, this past Thursday here in the States, we had Red Nose Day, which is part of the Comic Relief organization. It's a big fundraiser we hold to help raise money for Comic Relief, who does all sorts of amazing things for kids all around the world with the power of laughter. I would absolutely appreciate it if you guys could check out that video, and also Comic Relief themselves, because they're pretty awesome. Then the other video I want to tell you guys about was Overwatch Anniversary, where I teamed up with Nick and Joe and we played some Overwatch Anniversary. The sweet new maps in the 3v3 elimination, which is an awesome mode that I absolutely love. We checked out some of the sweet new skins, which are all awesome, and we just generally had a good time, so I'd love it if you guys could go check that out too. As for what's coming up on the channel, it's all the usual suspects: Janky's Lab, Janked Up Lore, Janky Uncensored, among other things. You guys will love it. It'll be sweet. It's awesome. Alright, so with that, it's time to move on over into sub thanks, and there are a lot of people to thank this week. We are up to 244 subscribers, which is awesome. We are so close to 250 in the Jank Squad. It makes me tingle, but not in like a weird way, in like a cool, tingly excitement way. Does that make that sense better? I don't know. Anyway, let's get thanking. Starting with Jennifer Hadley. Jen, you are super cool. Thank you for joining the Jank Squad, and keep being you, girl. Woo. That sounded very forceful. Do your thing. Do your thing. Next up, we have The Fancy Banana with 167 subscribers on his channel. He does Pathologic. Well, okay, let's just say that he does lots of horror games. There's a lot here, so I won't list them all. But definitely go check him out. And thank you, Fancy Banana, for joining with the Jank Squad. Next up, we have Gina Ray, who is also totally awesome and amazing. She's a super cool person. You could check her out on Twitter. And thank you so much, Gina, for joining up with the Jank Squad. Next up, we have the Almighty Mushu 2. Almighty Mushu, he's a super cool guy. Does all sorts of things on the YouTubes, lots of vlogging content. And he's happy to be back on YouTube. So definitely go check him out on his new channel, Almighty Mushu 2. And thank you for joining up with the Jank Squad for the second time. Next up, we have WSG Rabbit, who does lots of FPS content on his channel. Definitely go check him out. He's super cool. And thank you, WSG, for joining up with the Jank Squad. And last but certainly not least, we have Mel of Living to Improve, a channel that's all about improving her life and hopefully yours as well. Mel, you are a totally awesome and inspirational person. Keep being you, and thank you so much for being a part of the Jank Squad. And that is all the subs I have to thank for this week, so thank you all once again for subbing the channel. Anyone that I missed, of course, I will thank you too. I thank you now, and I will thank you next week if I happen to miss you this week. Thank you all so much. I very much appreciate it. All 244 members of the Jank Squad. Oh my god. I just love that you guys find what I'm doing mildly entertaining and you want to subscribe and be a part of it. And I'm so thankful for all of you. Thank you so much for being a part of the team, and I hope that you continue to enjoy the content in the future. Love you guys. Alright, now with all that mushy mush out of the way, let's go ahead and start talking about gaming news, shall we? Starting with quickfire news. Alright, let's jump into that quickfire news, starting with Overwatch Anniversary, which started this week on the 23rd. It runs through June. They have all sorts of new maps and skins for the characters and voice lines and sprays and all that stuff. I would definitely recommend checking it out. And if you happen to be watching this on Sunday, there's still a limited amount of time that you can play Overwatch for free because it's free all this weekend. So definitely go check it out if you'd like. Speaking of things online, there is an error message popping up on modded 3DSs, so if you're the kind of person who loves to mod things like the 3DS that you own, you may be getting an error message from Nintendo right now that's saying that you can't get to online apps. I don't know why this is, probably because Nintendo hates it whenever people mess with their equipment, but that's the error message that people are getting. Luckily, you can still get to the store right now, but hopefully the hacker community will find a way around this in the future, or Nintendo will explain their reasoning for deciding that modded 3DSs just aren't cool anymore. Speaking of Nintendo not liking things, there's an ARMS fan game out now. That's right, the game ARMS hasn't even premiered yet. It will premiere in June, and yet people are already making fan games of it. It's a 2D platformer, kind of in the style of Brawlhalla or Super Smash Brothers. It looks super awesome. Hopefully, Nintendo will leave it up for a while, but definitely go play it now while you still can, because it looks super cool. Continuing on with Nintendo, there's a new Pokemon mobile game out called Magikarp Jump, based entirely on the Pokemon Magikarp. I haven't gotten to see that much about it, I just know that it's out and people are loving it and it's super cool, so definitely check that out if you get the chance. Speaking of things that are releasing, Xbox has announced that they are releasing their gaming streaming service on June 1st called Xbox Game Pass, which looks super cool. Basically, you can stream Xbox games to your Xbox for a monthly subscription fee, which is something that Nintendo and PlayStation are already doing, so it looks like Xbox is just hopping on board. Speaking of release dates, Red Dead Redemption 2 has been pushed back to the spring of 2018, much to the chagrin of people who love the Red Dead Redemption series because they've been looking forward to 2 for years now, and they're finally making it, and it's been pushed back and delayed. But then again, that's sort of common in video games, so I guess you kind of get used to it. Anyway, speaking of sweet action games, Tom Holland, who is currently portraying Spider-Man in the Marvel Universe, has been announced to play a young Nathan Drake. Did that sentence make sense? Well, here's what's going on. Tom Holland will be playing a young Nathan Drake in upcoming Uncharted films. Will they be good? Well, based on recent discussions I've had about video game movies, maybe, but we're not holding high hopes for this. Anyway, I like Tom Holland. I think he'll probably do a good job, so definitely look forward to that. Speaking of film and episodicness, the second episode of Telltale's Guardians of the Galaxy series will be coming in June. So if you love Telltale and you love their Guardians of the Galaxy series, be prepared for episode 2 dropping soon. Speaking of things coming in June, Darkest Dungeon will release its first expansion in June. It will introduce vampires. It will be cool. It will be awesome. That is, if I play Darkest Dungeon, which I don't because I don't do horror games, but actually that one's more like an RPG, so I'd probably be okay with it. But Eldritch Horror, right? Which is weird because I read H.P. Lovecraft. Oh my god, I need to breathe. Speaking of Eldritch Horrors, Neil deGrasse Tyson, will be showing off his new game, Space Odyssey, at E3, which I'm super duper excited about. I love Neil deGrasse Tyson. I love science. I love that he's making a science game. I am super excited to see this game, Space Odyssey. I'm not even sure what it's about, but if Neil deGrasse Tyson's part of it, you know it has to be good. So, oh my god, can't wait. And finally, speaking of games that have dropped, Rime, a game that I've been looking forward to for forever, has dropped on Switch and PC. It's very Wind Waker, puzzle solving, you have a cute little fox companion. I'm super excited about it, can't wait to get playing it. Whew. And that's it for Quickfire News. Alright, so slowing things down from Quickfire News, let's talk about a couple major stories going on this week, starting with Overwatch Contenders. So you may remember a story I talked about a couple weeks ago about Overwatch League and how it kind of seemed like Overwatch League might be floundering. At least those were the rumors going around the internet. They were having trouble getting sponsors because the entire game was based on hype, and it was not looking good for Overwatch League. Well, Blizzard has released a statement saying that they are holding an open invitational for a developmental league that will be known as Overwatch Contenders, which is for people who would like to go pro in Overwatch League. The tournaments have major prizes, $50,000 for the first open invitational and then $100,000 for the playoffs. They'll be having the open invitational on June 3rd through 4th here in North America. The dates are different in Europe, but they'll be holding tournaments in North America and Europe. Then they will have the playoffs on July 1st, and they will also have the semi-playoffs June 18th through 25th. That was a terrible way of putting that, I apologize. The point is, it looks like Blizzard is finally making some moves with Overwatch League. They're actually trying to build a player base so that maybe they can draw on some sponsorships and actually get Overwatch League rolling, which is the concern that we've all had for a while now, that it just wouldn't get rolling. But it looks like Blizzard's on top of it now. The other thing about this tournament, too, I think, is it's about Blizzard taking back the narrative of Overwatch League, because they were quiet about it for so long that these rumors did get started that maybe Overwatch League wasn't doing well or they couldn't find sponsorships. Now, I'm not saying that those things aren't also grounded in truth, but we had no, like, definitive proof of that. I don't know. Well, obviously Blizzard wasn't saying anything, but the point is that Blizzard kind of lost control of the narrative of Overwatch League, so I think that this Contenders tournament is a way for them to bring the narrative back to them. Granted, I don't think that they just threw this together in a couple of weeks in response to that thing about Overwatch League not being able to find sponsors, but I think that it's like a PR thing for them, you know, trying to like garner interest in Overwatch League and trying to get people like hyped about it, you know, with actual players and a player base and a fan base and like, you know, actually starting something with it, which I think is cool. So that's something. The other thing I want to talk about is Beam has changed their name to Mixer. Now, these aren't the only things that the streaming service has changed. However, the name change is huge because it's a way of them trying to set themselves apart from the other streaming services, Twitch and YouTube, by trying to sort of identify what their brand is and how they're going to carve out their little niche in the streaming world, especially considering that Twitch is like the original streaming service, and YouTube has already been established as a video service, and, you know, adding streaming to it is just sort of a natural evolution for them. So Beam has kind of been like, I don't know where to be in this equation, and I think changing their name to Mixer and the updates they've added are really going to help with that for them. So checking out the Mixer blog, I was just reading it earlier. One of the co-founders of Beam Mixer, I'm just going to call it Mixer from now on, one of the co-founders of Mixer, Matt, had written a really nice blog post that sort of covered everything that they're doing with it and all the updates that they're trying to add to it and why they really wanted to change the name to Mixer to sort of update the brand of what they're going for, right? And it was a really nice blog post. I'm just going to kind of skim through most of it here. There's just one thing I really want to point out because it was hilarious to me, where he like threw some shade. Oh, here it is. In other words, Mixer is live streaming that's actually live compared to the 10 to 20 second latency you typically get on other platforms. Shade. No, but seriously, they've added all sorts of cool things. They're working on adding crowd play and chat integration, so that was something that Twitch had. I think maybe YouTube had, but Beam certainly didn't have. So they've been working with game developers to add that into their system, which is totally awesome. I think that will really help because that's been a huge thing on Twitch, and that's something that Mixer, has definitely been missing that I think that they needed to add. Other things too, they have an official app called Mixer Create, which will be a mobile app that will allow you to stream on the go, which is something that not even Twitch actually has, because Twitch, they have third-party streaming apps, but they don't actually make one themselves. It's about streaming mobily, which I think will be helpful to Mixer to introduce that mobile streaming element. I think, not that people don't stream mobily on Twitch already, but as part of the system, I think that that will really help. Other things too, Mixer will now be built into Xbox and Windows 10, which I think will give it some kind of advantage because, I mean, every PC user uses Windows 10, and Xbox users, I mean, they could stream to Twitch, but now they have the option of streaming directly to Mixer straight from their box with no additional setup. I think it might help. I think it might help with Mixer. Other things too, they're creating a production studio in New York at the flagship Windows store. It will be all about creating content for Mixer, which I think will be huge. They have Channel Mixer 1, which is all about, it's kind of like the front page on Twitch, where they'll be showing off all sorts of different content from people, which will be totally awesome. And they've just had so much new stuff. Oh, but there is one thing that is like straight Mixer, and it's totally cool. So Mixer will be doing this awesome thing where you can actually co-stream, and not just like, you know, not like podcasts and like the podcast you just like share the person's channel that you're podcasting from and that's what it is, right? It's actually taking a game like League of Legends or PlayerUnknown Battleground or Mario Kart or something like that, and actually combining 4 people's perspectives from 4 different channels into one page, split screen, so you can see what's happening on 4 different streams at once just by viewing one page, which is totally awesome. Totally the reason that they renamed it Mixer, by the way. And that will be a huge feature, I think, for Mixer going forward. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Again, I don't really stream that much, I'm sure, as you guys know. But if I were to start streaming, I would love to at least check out Mixer just for the sake of being able to do that. And being able to, you know, play with my friends in that way, that you could see all of our perspectives at once. That would be a super cool thing to add. That'd be awesome, and I'd love to see more of that. So kudos to you, Mixer. I look forward to seeing more from you in the future. Okay, one last thing to do, folks, before we call it for the day, which is the opinion piece. And this week, it's all about E3, which is coming up soon. They've announced what their indie mega booth will be and all the games that are on it, and I would love to hear what you guys think of either these games or some indie games that you guys have heard of that you would love to see at E3, because there's one spot left in the indie mega booth that they haven't announced yet. And I would just love to hear about indie games that you guys love and want to see. So let me tell you about the ones that they are premiering at E3 at the Indie Mega Booth right now. So first up, they have Nidhogg 2, which is a fighting game. Nidhogg was this ridiculous game where you have to like duel each other and like run away from each other. And basically you're trying to make it across 3 stages, platforming and dueling, so that you could sacrifice yourself to this monster called the Nidhogg. Anyway, it was absolutely ridiculous. And they decided to make a second one, and it's even more ridiculous than the first. There are like new weapons, the style is totally different from the first one, and it's weird and interesting, and oh my goodness, just looking at it, it's crazy. I can't wait to see more from Nidhogg 2, guys. Other games that are coming, there's one called Songbringer, which I don't really know much about, but I imagine that it must be pretty cool if it's coming to the Indie Mega Booth. Same thing with Summer, which is another game coming. Or maybe it's Sumer, but I don't know much about it, but I'm sure it will be super cool. So definitely be sure to check that one out too. Then there's a game called Sundered, which I have not played myself, but I've seen other YouTubers play. It is very eldritch horror, like imagine 2D platforming Dark Souls, and that's kind of what this game is. And it's like you level up throughout the game, you just gain more and more experience. It's almost one of those things where you have to die to go back and gain experience to keep moving forward, right? It literally is like 2D Dark Souls. That's like the best way I have to describe this game. It looks super cool, guys. Definitely go check it out. And then the last game that they have is called Semblance, which I did play at PAX East. It is so cool. It's like this game about this little morphing clay blob, but the way that you move through the environment is that you actually have to shape the environment with your abilities. Like you have to reform the environment around you to help you move through these spaces. It's such an amazing game, and it's actually going to be part of an article that I'm still working on for GamerBuzz about the awesome indies I saw at PAX East. But oh, it's such a cool game. If you guys get a chance, definitely check it out because it is amazing. And that's all I have this week for gaming news, so I hope you guys enjoyed yet another Hanging with Janky. If you did, you can leave those likes down below. Comments, positive or negative, feel free to leave those below as well. But more than anything, I hope you have a lovely day, evening, or whenever you happen to be watching. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next time, this is Janky Shenanigans, signing out. Oh my god. All right.